So, God shows up. I don't know if it's good news or bad news when God shows up. Jesus shows up. Good news or bad news? Someone said rightly, I think, the quality of the news, good news or bad news, the quality of the news depends on where you stand when you hear the news. When Jesus shows up, sometimes it's bad news. That's today's story. When Jesus shows up, it might just go bad for you. I think that's what we know from today's lesson, the gospel. When God shows up in the story today, in the person and power and voice of Jesus the Son, it is bad for the local economy, that is for sure. Because somebody owned those pigs. Did they? Somebody owned those daggone pigs, and somebody was planning on them for their livelihood. And what's a little interesting, I think, about the story is that Jesus didn't really care about that. It wasn't a concern of his. He didn't negotiate with the evil spirits and offer an alternative. Seemingly, he could have just as easily cast them into the fire or into the fish or into the flowers or just back into the netherworld. But the pigs and the pig owners lost out that day. Jesus showing up was not good for them. And to tell the truth, that's still the case. At a church I once served, we did over the Christmas season a program called the Advent Conspiracy. We've done it here. I don't know if you've heard of it. But it's a short series. It's like 5 weeks in a row. And you come together and you watch a video and you talk about it. It's a great program that challenges us to take a hard look at all the trappings of a modern consumerist Christmas. Does anybody feel worn out by Christmas spending and spending? That's what it's about, right? And it asks us to scale it back, to strip it down to something more meaningful. Instead of giving Dad that tie that he doesn't want or need, maybe writing him a story on some special paper that he could keep and treasure, you know? Instead of buying that game console for the kids that separates the parents and the teens for hours and hours and hours and makes them both a little bit crazy and a little bit cranky, maybe a game or a vacation that they can do together. That kind of thing. The idea of the Advent Conspiracy is we spend so much money on Christmas and get so little real pleasure out of it that maybe it would be better to take a look at things and build relationships rather than checking things off a list or spending ourselves into more misery. You know, we all have this, how much are we going to spend this year? $100 on Susie, $50 on Joey, right? And we just do that to check things off a list. And it's not bringing us happiness and joy in relationship. That's the point. Well, one woman in our group who did this year at the church where I served went home and talked to her husband about it. He did not take the course with us. And he was a very successful business person in his community. And the husband rightly said to his wife, honey, what you are saying is just the opposite of what makes us able to afford our home and our cars and everything else. If everybody did what you said, if everybody scaled back and spent less money, the economy would suffer, and we would suffer. And he was right. Jesus is bad for the economy. I'm just going to tell it to you. Jesus is bad for the economy. And it looks like Jesus showing up might just be bad for your reputation. The guy in the gospel story, you know, the community was pretty much okay with him. They had him all, you know, figured out, right? Until Jesus showed up. He was possessed, but they had learned to live with it. They just bound him up with chains and made him live in the cemetery. And if he broke loose, they would round him back up and tie him back down and take him back out to the tombs. But then he gets healed. Then he gets healed, and what happens? He goes back to town, walking among them. This person that they wouldn't have talked to before, and he becomes what? An evangelist. That's what it says. It says he went away proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. Now imagine how the folks in the city felt. Had he really changed? Do you think they were nervous? Was he still a danger to them or to their children? What assurance did they have that he wouldn't revert back to his former state? What safeguards should they put in place? Did he need guards? And what if he really was healed? Then what? Who was was this Jesus, and how was it that his simple presence and soft voice might lead to such powerful upending of the way that things were? What would come from all this Jesus stuff? Did you ever pray for a miracle and then wonder what you would do if it really happened? If God did something truly miraculous and supernatural in your life, how could you not tell people? And if you told them, would they think you were special and want to be around you? Or certifiable and want to get away from you? I can tell you, I hear stories you don't hear. People tell me things they don't tell you. They won't tell you. And I'm not talking about sins. Forget it. People are happy to share about their sins. I'm talking about their miracles. People will tell me miraculous things that happen in their life that they won't tell anybody else. Why? Because I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to laugh at them. It happens more often than you think. Someone in your row may have had a miracle. But I'm saying to you, why is it we don't go around like this guy did? An evangelist saying, listen, guess what? God healed me. It's because your friends are going to think you're nuts. They would, wouldn't they? You wouldn't go to work and say, guess what happened over the weekend? I had something on my leg and now it's gone. You won't. What would your friends think if you changed? What would happen to the standing in the community that you've worked so hard to build? Jesus, I'm telling you, is bad for your reputation. He just is. Go tell people what you really believe about Jesus and see how many friends you have. Okay. And guess what? Jesus is bad for your demons. Now this one may not seem so bad, right? Jesus gets rid of demons? Sign me up, right? But it depends on what you mean by demons. If you mean actual spiritual beings who inhabit your person and take over your personality and make you do things against your will, well, getting rid of them would be a good thing for sure. But if you mean the things we choose or do or desire or crave that we know are either not good for us or more important to us than our relationship with God, things like overuse of fill in this blank with your drug of choice. From caffeine to cocaine, okay? If you think about that, overuse of your drug of choice, or internet pornography, or hatred, or bigotry against a group of people, or food that we know will kill us in the end, or systems that keep us in power and keep others out of it, those are the demons of our age. And to be honest, we like them pretty good. And we're just not all that interested in having them removed, individual freedom and all. And then Jesus shows up, and everything gets real, and everything gets different. And if we allow it, if we will allow it, the goodness of God overshadows the evil of our age. And the amazing glory of God makes us forget even the most attractive of our sinful desires. And we can be transformed. And we can cast off those things that separate us from the love of God. God is bad for our demons, even the ones we don't want to let go of. So I don't know if you want any of this. I don't know. I don't know if you have any demons you want to let go of. I don't know if you're interested in risking the reputation you have worked so hard to build. I don't know if you can imagine a life without the blessing and the curse of mindless consumerism. I don't know if you have any need in your life for a God who crushes the enemies of grace and embraces the children of peace. I only know that if you are interested in any of that, then a little Jesus might just be good for you.